Hi, everybody. I have with me today Yvonne Markman. Yvonne at Verizon Media is the Chief Business Officer, and he's also now Verizon Media is a DPAA member. So welcome to the DPAA, Digital Out of Home Global Community, and we anticipate all the great work that Verizon Media is doing will now be in conjunction with the whole community. So welcome and nice to see you, Yvonne.
Good to see you, Barry, and I can see that you have joined the great community of people with beard. So well done.
Thank you.
And jokes aside, really looking forward to partnering with you and the DPAA on everything you do. It's a very exciting space, despite the context and whatever else may be going on.
Right. Yeah, we're certainly anticipating all the great momentum over the past years to come out right after this roaring. So thank you for that. And tell us, so Verizon Media, huge company, acquisition over the years of Yahoo, of AOL, of Huffington Post, morph from Oath. Maybe you can give us a little bit about Verizon and then Verizon Media, and then I heard a great quote from someone. It was something like. When you serve the whole stack, you could serve the whole industry. Do you know anybody who ever said that?
Exactly, sounds familiar. Verizon Media is one of the three business units that comprise Verizon, and we are the outgrowth of a series of acquisitions that Verizon has made over the years, including AOL, Yahoo, a series of ad tech acquisitions, as well as Uplink and Edgecast on the streaming side of the house. And we are very, very focused on building a customer-centric ecosystem that really helps people amplify their passions, connect with what they are really passionate about. And when you think about consumers, it's about what's relevant and meaningful to their lives. When you think about businesses, I would say that everyone is passionate about growth. So we really want to be there and partner with our advertiser and publisher customers to kind of drive that forward. We announced the acquisition of Blue Jeans, which is an amazing video conferencing platform. So we're very, very excited because it's also one of those areas that has a lot of connective tissue into our purpose, once again, in terms of creating those networks that move the world forward. So we're on the move.
What you mentioned before is interesting. So you've got a significant B2C as well as a B2B business. Yeah. And how are you working now with your staff and teams and morale around the world? How are you effectuating that in a positive way, and what are some of the challenges, Yvonne?
Keeping our focus on the four core stakeholders, if you will: employees first, customers, society, and shareholders, and really kind of practicing what we preach. So to your question on our teams, we have doubled or tripled down. I mean, it's been very, very significant in terms of the amount of effort that we've put first and foremost on staying connected. So we have had daily all hands for the whole company, led by Hans and some of the key leaders. We also have that at the business unit level with Guru. And once again, I participated in some of those and some of the leaders literally every day, because so much is changing and it's so important to stay connected. So when you think about the collective investment of time in terms of staying connected, and it's not only us, it's also making sure that we have very strong and deep connections with our customers, right, and really connect with their mindset, right? They're all going through different kinds of contexts, and how do we stay connected with them and invest in key areas that are not only related to the day-to-day business. Yes. One of the key areas that we've been focusing on, both with our employees and externally, is the topic of mental health. Internally, we've invested in all sorts of different areas related to that, and it ranges from apps and tools that help with topics such as meditation and staying connected, And we've had, a lot of guest speakers, including Deepak Chopra and so on, to
Great.
kind of really connect the dots around that, because I think that there's so much change and so much pressures of all kinds that it's a particularly relevant topic. And then externally, we launched Yahoo Live, which is a hub that contains a lot of that information and tips and tools. We feel that in particular is a very important area. And we also donated 10 million in media to key organizations focused on health more broadly, like the WHO, but also a series of organizations that specifically focus on mental health. Our team members are seeing what we're doing every day, right? It's not just words, it's actions. So that's something that I think is collectively inspiring and something that helps us manage and navigate through some of these times.
Let's talk a bit about the advertisers and the agencies. You folks are publishing as well as selling and buying, creating demand and supply. What do you hear the brands and the agencies saying given this time and coming out of it?
Yeah, well, look, I think that a couple of things. I'll start at the macro level and then go a little bit more micro. At the macro level, as you know, and we've seen, and there's a lot of research around this, the economy and advertising are highly correlated, right? So when the economy takes a hit, advertising takes a hit. And this is because, all of the advertisers are dealing with their own different challenges in different ways, which brings me to a bit more of a micro point, which is, I think that think of it as three buckets of customers, if you will. One is a bucket of customers that is doing really well during these times. They have services and goods that are growing, that are in demand, that have become ever more valuable in this environment. And there's a host of examples, including gaming, wellness, offline to online type solutions, and so on. So for them is, how can they connect even better, more massively, in more meaningful ways with their customers to drive that growth. The second bucket is advertisers whose business is the other extreme, advertisers whose businesses are incredibly impacted, people not traveling any longer, conferences not happening, sports not happening, and so on. And how do they navigate that? And how do they think about the level of brand presence that they need to maintain? How does their message change to the extent that they cannot advertise right now? How do they look for the right signals to come back in a very strategic way? And then the third bucket is advertisers that I would say are somewhere in the middle. Their goods are still needed. They may not be in a massive growth or massive recession, but the context has changed. And they're trying to figure out how to best communicate with their consumers and how to evolve their brand message during this time. So for all of them, I think that there's two key items that are super, super important. The first one is flexibility, right? Stating the obvious, things have changed, they are changing very quickly. And in this environment, having the flexibility that is provided by unique and diverse insights, how do we pick the right signals? And then by having different channels and different ways of engaging with their consumers at scale is very, very important. And lastly, technologies that allow them to do this very quickly and flexibly, ranging from, more of the programmatic activation all the way through to dynamic and very flexible and quick creative tools. So flexibility is a big component for them. The other component is simplicity. Once you are in the mode of knowing, hey, this is what I want to do, how can I go and do it very quickly? How can I identify in simple ways what I need to do and then very quickly assemble that and activate it?
You mentioned some things from the macro to micro level. Maybe we should take that same theme and take a look at programmatic. So certainly you're heavily involved on the SSP and DSP side. Maybe from a macro level, Yvonne, you could describe that. And then to kind of get down a little bit, let's talk about what you folks are doing in out of home, which has certainly been the hottest of the classic media over the past few years. and talk about your involvement from the macro of programmatic, and then somewhat about. And what I would say is on the digital out of home, what's been very exciting for us is that just what you said about the flexibility, or as I spoke to Rashad Tabakawala this week, he calls it his theory of optionality, that digital out of home is going to really be enhanced coming out of this because of the speed, because of the efficiency, because of the ability to put elements on the screens, or programmatically to shift things around with not a lot of analog hand-holding. So back to you. Programmatic from big picture at Verizon Media, and then some of the out-of-home thinking.
As you pointed out previously, we have taken a full stack approach. And I would say one of the big reasons why we've done that is that we have been consumer first and publisher first in our mindset. And we understand that consumers engaged with media in multiple ways throughout their lives, and that publishers also need to work on that and adjust to that to engage with them meaningfully, and then to serve their advertisers in very effective ways. So this is definitely being supported by a programmatic framework that is anchored on three core tenets. The first one is diverse insights. How do we bring a pool of very unique and diverse insights to help drive planning, activation, and measurement in a world that is omni-channel, omni-location, omni-screen, however you want to think about it, all of those dimensions of consumer engagement. The second component is around this omni-channel fashion, and this will bring us to digital out of home and just the explosive growth that we've seen there. But really understanding that the consumer goes about their life in this journey that has multiple touch points. How do we connect the dots in the most effective, efficient, relevant, and meaningful way? And then the third point is around brand safety. And I almost want to think about it in terms of brand relevance or brand aspiration, right? Brand safety generally is about, don't show me in a bad place. And I think that more and more it is, and it needs to be, about show me in the right place. And this will bring us back to digital out of home as well. So zooming in now, digital out of home has just been exploding for a number of reasons. First, and starting with what I mentioned in terms of brand aspirational, brand relevant, and so on. I mean, stating the obvious, delivering highly engaging and relevant creative messaging, brand communications in a highly relevant location at the right time. I mean, that's it, right? That's the marketer's dream, and that's exactly what digital out of home facilitates, right? Being there where the consumer is at the right time. Second, technology has enabled us to connect a lot of signals in a way that makes that omni-channel planning, activation, and measurement a lot more connected and a lot more consistent, right? And there's a host of data that today we can connect in ways that make that interaction a lot more relevant, not only around location, but you can think of context in so many ways and connect the dots between that context with the relevant consumer segments and whatnot. So I think, digital out of home has been growing very quickly as a result of that. There's logical concerns in the current environment that with people sheltering in home, it's going to take a hit, and I believe that it will take a hit as any other medium. But what I do believe, and I think this is something that you were mentioning that Rishad also highlighted, it's going to come back a lot stronger. And the reason why it's going to come back a lot stronger is because, once again, it checks the box of a series of items that are incredibly valuable to advertisers. And as more and more inventory becomes digital, and as more and more capabilities are making that inventory be bought and sold in a programmatic way, I mean, sky's the limit. I really believe that it's going to come out a lot stronger on a relative basis relative to pretty much any other medium.
What's kind of giving you inspiration during this time, working at home, different environment, different flavor? What kind of gets you up in the morning and keeps you going all day during these crazy times?
Yeah, look, to me, if I had to summarize it, I would call it the humanization of our new normal, right? How we are all connecting with our humanity. I mean, this is my home office. That door that you see there behind me leads through an aisle to my daughter's room. She's studying right now. She's doing, remote learning. My son there's another door here that goes to another place where his room is, and he's doing the same. And, we are connecting as a family in ways that we haven't in the past. But, in the same way, I mean, I probably wouldn't have welcomed you to my home, right? Under other circumstances, at this speed and so on. We've usually seen each other in conferences and whatnot. So we're all connecting with parts of ourselves that are very unique and elements that are very human, right? And this applies to so many things. And then you begin to see so much new creativity in so many ways. I was sharing with you previously how Verizon has shown up for its communities. And there's a host of areas that, you wouldn't have envisioned before. I'll give you an example. Christy Pambianchi, who's our Chief Human Resources Officer, partnered with other CHROs, and they just launched an alliance across different companies to really drive a way to create a job marketplace to get people back to work very quickly, right? These are some of the things that in another environment, maybe someone had a business planning idea and so on, and maybe over the course of years and BD deals and so on in between, that would have happened. This is something where they had a conference call. Obviously, everyone was in their homes, and they were like, hey, we have all of these people that are leaving the job market. How do we bring them back to work? And so this created the Life Plus Work marketplace, and they are already up and running and creating new opportunities. You may have seen some of what we're doing in Paid Forward Live to support small and medium businesses. And this is a lot of talent from sports players to musicians to stars, etc., who are engaging once again from home and are connecting with each other to support the SMBs that they love. And we're donating money. We've committed up to $5 million to those SMBs. So all of those things personally are things that really inspire me. And then, when I see the creativity of our teams in terms of how they engage with our customers and how they help them navigate, right? And in some cases, once again, it's not about what would usually be business, but sometimes, they know that maybe one of our customers had a bunch of their team furloughed, and they're just reaching out and sending them gifts and saying, hey, it's going to be fine and we're going to come out stronger on the other side. So once again, it's about humanity and how we're connecting. And I think that's really going to change us. It's a pre-post, right? We're all going to be different in a much more positive way coming out of that. And that really inspires me.
That is wonderful. You've said so many great things here, and humanity and coming out for the better is so key. If I were to make three kind of takeaways, I would say stay connected from Ivan. He says stay connected. Another takeaway, be flexible and look how scale and tech can develop more scale and more tech, of course. And then, consumer and publisher first. And I think you as Verizon, you've done that. And evidently, I want to thank you for welcoming me into your home. Thank you for coming into my home. And, it's really been a joy. And I want to congratulate you once again, not only on the Blue Jeans, a great timely acquisition, but of course on also joining DPAA at this time as we're kind of ready to burst out again. So Ivan Markman, thank you so much for doing this. Great to see you again, mi amigo.
Thanks, Barry. Good to see you. Thank you.